Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the UES Guardian, watching the blue ships get closer to Earth's mining colonies. The Zephyrian fleet had come back again for the third time this month. Jake knew they were not here to talk or trade. They came to take what they wanted and hurt anyone who tried to stop them. The aliens had been doing this for 2 whole years now. They would fly their ships close to human space and steal things from the mining stations. Sometimes they would capture human ships and take the people inside. When human leaders asked them to stop, they would just laugh and say it was all a big mistake. Admiral Lisa Carter's voice came through the radio from the moon base. "Morrison, you need to stay back and only watch them. Do not shoot unless they shoot first. The big bosses still think we can talk to these aliens and make peace." Jake felt angry when he heard this. The blue aliens had already blown up the big mining station near Saturn last month. 300 families died in that attack. Men, women, and children who were just trying to make a living by digging up rocks and metals in space. When human ambassadors went to complain, the Zephyrian leader just moved his shoulders up and down and said, "Sorry, it was an accident." Dr. Alex Turner had been studying these aliens for months. He worked in a big lab on Earth where scientists tried to understand how different alien species think and act. Alex had told the Earth Council many times that the Zephyrians saw human kindness as weakness. When we try to be nice to them, they think we are scared, Alex had explained to the government leaders. In their world, only strong creatures survive. Every time we choose to talk instead of fight, they believe we are weak animals that they can hunt. The Earth Council was made up of the most important people from all human colonies. They made the big decisions about war and peace. Most of them still believed that talking was better than fighting. They did not want to start a war with aliens because they thought humans might lose. On the edge of human space, Commander Rachel Brooks was watching another human ship get attacked. The transport vessel was full of normal people who were moving from one colony to another. They had families and children on board. The Zephyrian ship surrounded the transport and forced it to stop. Then armed aliens went inside and took the humans away. Rachel heard the people on the transport crying for help on the radio. "Please, someone help us, they are taking our children," a woman's voice said through the static. Rachel wanted to fly her ship over and fight the aliens, but her orders were clear. She could only watch and report what happened. She was not allowed to help. The transport ship was taken away into Zephyrian space. The humans inside were never seen again. Rachel wrote a report about what she saw and sent it to her commanders. She knew they would read it and feel sad, but they would not do anything about it. That night, Jake got a message that made his blood feel cold. His younger brother Tom had been on that transport ship with his wife and 2 small children. Tom worked as an engineer fixing machines on different colonies. He was moving his family to a new job on a planet near the edge of human space. Now they were gone, and Jake knew he would never see them again. Jake had grown up with Tom on a farm on Earth. They used to play together as boys and dream about flying spaceships when they got older. Tom was always the smart one who was good at fixing things. Jake became a soldier, and Tom became an engineer. But they stayed close and talked to each other every week. Tom's children called Jake uncle and always got excited when he visited them. Now Tom and his family were probably dead or worse. Jake had heard stories about what the Zephyrians did to human prisoners. They did not treat them like people. They treated them like animals or toys. The aliens kept getting bolder and meaner. They started attacking bigger targets and killing more people. They seemed to enjoy making humans suffer. Every time humans tried to make peace, the aliens would do something worse. The breaking point came when the Zephyrians attacked Europa Station. This was not a small mining post or a transport ship. Europa Station was huge and important. 20,000 people lived there, including many of Earth's best scientists and their families. The station orbited around Jupiter's moon Europa and did important research about life in space. The attack was not quick or secret. The Zephyrians took their time and made sure everyone in human space could watch what they were doing. They sent out a broadcast signal so that people on every human world could see the attack happening live on their screens. Jake watched from his ship as the alien fleet surrounded Europa Station. The station had some defenses, but not enough to fight off so many enemy ships. The scientists and families inside sent desperate messages asking for help. But the nearest, human military ships were too far away to arrive in time. The Zephyrians did not just destroy the station quickly. They took hours to tear it apart piece by piece. They wanted humans to watch and feel helpless. They wanted everyone to know that humans could not protect their own people. Jake watched families die on his screen. He saw children running through the station hallways trying to escape. He saw scientists trying to save their research while their homes burned around them. He saw the entire station break apart and explode while 20,000 people died inside. The aliens broadcast a message after the attack. Their leader appeared on screen with a cruel smile. "This is what happens to weak species who think they can exist in the same galaxy as the Zephyrian Empire," the alien said. "Humans are nothing but animals who belong to us now. We will take what we want and kill who we want. Your leaders can do nothing to stop us." That night, President William Hayes called for an emergency meeting. All the most important people from every human colony had to come to Earth right away. Jake knew that something big was about to change. The time for being nice and trying to make peace was over. The aliens had pushed humans too far. They had killed too many innocent people. They had taken Jake's brother and nephew and niece. They had shown that they would never stop hurting humans no matter how much humans tried to be peaceful. Jake looked out at the stars and made a promise to his dead brother. The Zephyrians would pay for what they had done. All of them would pay. The Earth Council chambers had never been so quiet. President William Hayes stood in front of representatives from every human colony in space. His face looked tired and angry at the same time. Behind him, big screens showed pictures of Europa, station burning, and the faces of 20,000 dead people. Everyone in the room knew that this meeting would change everything. For 2 years, humans had tried to be peaceful with the Zephyrians. They had shown mercy when the aliens attacked their ships. They had tried to talk and make agreements when the aliens stole from their colonies. They had turned the other cheek when their people were murdered. President Hayes began to speak, and his voice was hard like steel. "For 2 years we have shown restraint. We have pursued peace. We have turned the other cheek when our people were murdered and our colonies raided, and our children kidnapped. We believed that civilized beings could resolve their differences through dialogue." The room stayed completely silent. Everyone could hear the pain and anger in the president's voice. These were not just numbers on a report to him. These were real people with real families who had died because humans chose to be peaceful instead of fighting back. General Patricia Adams walked up to stand next to the president. She was the highest-ranking military officer in all of human space. In her hands, she carried a datapad that contained all the records of Zephyrian attacks. The numbers were terrible to read. "The casualties are beyond acceptable," General Adams said as she read from her pad. 50,000 human civilians dead or missing, 37 colonies raided and damaged, 12 research stations completely destroyed, hundreds of ships captured with their crews never seen again. Senator Kevin Price from the Mars colony stood up in his seat. He was one of the people who still believed humans should try to make peace with the aliens. "Mr. President, surely we can still negotiate with them. Maybe if we offer them something they want, they will leave us alone." President Hayes turned to look at Senator Price, and his eyes were cold. "Negotiate?" he said, and his voice cut through the room like a knife. "They butchered children at Europa Station while we tried to negotiate. They laugh at our ambassadors while planning their next attack on innocent people." Dr. Alex Turner was asked to come forward and explain what he had learned about the Zephyrian species. Alex had spent months studying how these aliens think and what makes them act the way they do. He had tried to warn the government before, but many people did not want to listen. "The Zephyrians evolved on a world where only the strongest survived," Dr. Turner explained to the room. "Their planet was full of dangerous predators, and they had to fight every day just to stay alive. In their culture, showing mercy or kindness means you are weak and deserve to die." Dr. Turner showed pictures of the Zephyrian homeworld on the big screens. It was a harsh place with red skies and sharp mountains. The animals there all had big teeth and claws. Everything was built to kill or be killed. They literally cannot understand peaceful coexistence with species they see as weaker than them, Dr. Turner continued. "When we try to be diplomatic, they see it as proof that we are prey animals. When we show mercy, they think we are admitting we are inferior to them." The room began to understand why talking to the Zephyrians had never worked. It was like trying to have a conversation with a hungry tiger. The tiger does not care what you say. It only cares about whether you are strong enough to fight it or weak enough to eat. Admiral Lisa Carter was called forward to give a report that shocked everyone in the room. She explained that humans had been deliberately hiding their true military strength for decades. The galaxy thought humans were a young, weak species that could barely defend themselves. "We have been holding back our real capabilities," Admiral Carter said. "Our defensive fleet uses less than 30% of our available technology. Our colony ships carry enough hidden weapons to destroy entire planets. We have been pretending to be weak when we are actually very strong." Admiral Carter showed classified videos of human military tests that had been kept secret from other alien species. Ships that could move faster than light in ways no other species had seen. Weapons that could crack moons in half. Shields that could stop the heat from a star. "The galaxy has no idea what we are really capable of," Admiral Carter explained. "We chose to appear harmless so that other species would not see us as a threat. We wanted to be peaceful neighbors, not conquerors." The representatives began to realize that humans had been choosing to be victims. They had the power to fight back all along, but they wanted to find a peaceful solution instead. The Zephyrians had mistaken this choice for weakness, and now thousands of innocent people were dead. President Hayes called for a vote. Every representative from every human colony would decide whether to continue trying for peace or declare total war against the Zephyrian Empire. The voting did not take long. The decision was unanimous. Every single person voted for war. President Hayes walked over to the camera that would broadcast his message to the entire galaxy. Millions of aliens on thousands of worlds would hear what he was about to say. The Zephyrians would learn that their biggest mistake was thinking humans were easy prey. To the Zephyrian High Command and any other species considering humanity an easy target, President Hayes began. His voice was calm, but everyone could hear the steel underneath. "You have gravely miscalculated what we are and what we can do." He paused to let his words reach every corner of known space. On Zephyrian worlds, alien leaders were probably laughing at the human president. They thought he was just making empty threats like a small animal trying to scare a predator. "We tried to be your neighbors," President Hayes continued. "We offered friendship and trade and peaceful cooperation. You chose to see our kindness as weakness. You chose to murder our families and steal from our colonies. You have chosen to make us your enemy. So be it." Another pause while the galaxy listened and wondered what these weak humans thought they could actually do to the mighty Zephyrian Empire. "Humanity hereby declares total war against the Zephyrian Empire and any who stand with them," President Hayes said. "We are done playing nice. We are done showing mercy to those who show none to us. We are done pretending to be weak when we are strong." The declaration sent shockwaves across the galaxy. Most alien species thought humans were barely evolved. Primitives who had gotten lucky to survive long enough to reach space. They were about to learn how wrong they were. The first sign that everything had changed came when Captain Jake Morrison brought the UES Guardian above the Zephyrian fleet that had been attacking human colonies. For 2 years, Jake had been forced to watch these blue aliens hurt innocent people while he could do nothing to stop them. Those days were over now. The Zephyrian ships were the same ones that had been raiding human space for months. They flew in formation like they owned the galaxy and no one could challenge them. Their hulls were painted with symbols that meant death and conquest in their language. These were the ships that had taken Jake's brother and his family. Jake opened a communication channel to the alien fleet. His voice was calm, but there was something different about it now. Something that would have made the aliens nervous if they had been smart enough to listen carefully. "Zephyrian vessels, you have 30 seconds to withdraw from human space or face total destruction," Jake said into the microphone. He was not asking them to leave. He was telling them what would happen if they stayed. The lead Zephyrian ship responded immediately. General Vexhai appeared on the screen with the same arrogant expression he had worn for 2 years. His blue skin had dark markings that showed his rank in their military. His teeth were sharp like a predator, and he smiled when he talked about hurting humans. "Inferior humans do not give orders to the mighty Zephyrian fleet. General Vexhai snarled. "You will surrender your pathetic ship immediately, or we will destroy you and take your crew as slaves like we did with your brother." Jake felt his anger rise when the alien mentioned his brother, but his face stayed calm. He looked at Lieutenant Sam Parker, who was sitting at the weapons control station. Sam was young, but he was one of the best gunners in the human fleet. His fingers were already hovering over controls that the Zephyrians had never seen before. "Show them what human weapons actually look like," Jake said quietly. Sam pressed a series of buttons, and the Guardian began to change. Hidden panels on the hull slid open to reveal weapon systems that should not have existed on a simple patrol ship. Quantum torpedo tubes emerged from concealed ports along the sides. Energy cannons that could crack moons swiveled into firing position. Defensive shields that could withstand the heat from a star snapped on around the ship. The Zephyrians had 30 seconds to realize they had made a terrible mistake. The ship they thought was a weak human patrol vessel was actually one of the most advanced warships ever built. For decades, humans had been hiding their real technology from the galaxy. Now the truth was finally revealed. General Vexhai's expression changed from arrogance to confusion to terror in the space of a few heartbeats. He tried to order his ships to attack, but it was already too late. The humans had stopped playing by the old rules. Lieutenant Parker fired the quantum torpedoes first. These weapons traveled through dimensions that the Zephyrians could not even detect. The aliens saw their shields flicker and die without understanding how it happened. Then the energy cannons opened fire and turned their ships into expanding clouds of superheated gas. The entire Zephyrian fleet was destroyed in less than 3 minutes. 27 warships that had terrorized human colonies for months were reduced to glowing debris floating in space. The Guardian had not even been scratched by their return fire. Across human space, the same scene was playing out hundreds of times. Ships that the galaxy had believed were simple colony transports revealed massive hidden weapons arrays. Research stations activated planetary defense systems that could destroy entire fleets. Civilian freighters deployed fighter squadrons that moved like lightning and hit like hammers. On the mining world of Asteroid Base 7, the human defenders had been under siege for weeks. The Zephyrian ground forces had surrounded the main settlement and were slowly closing in for the kill. The aliens expected the humans to surrender or die fighting with primitive weapons. Instead, the mining equipment suddenly transformed into military hardware. Giant excavators became mobile artillery platforms. Ore processors turned into shield generators. The simple prefab buildings revealed themselves as heavily armored bunkers. The Zephyrian soldiers found themselves facing an enemy they could not understand or defeat. Admiral Lisa Carter coordinated the entire campaign from her command center on the moon. For years, she had been forced to watch human civilians die while politicians argued about the proper response. Now she had permission to use humanity's real military power, and she intended to use all of it. The humans had spent decades secretly mapping every Zephyrian base and outpost in the galaxy. They knew where the aliens kept their supplies and how they moved their ships. They understood Zephyrian tactics better than the Zephyrians understood them. Now they used all of this knowledge at once. Commander Rachel Brooks led an assault on the Zephyrian supply depot at Kepler Station. Her task force consisted of ships that looked like ordinary cargo haulers and passenger liners. The Zephyrians dismissed them as harmless civilian vessels right up until they revealed their true nature. The cargo ships opened like flowers to deploy swarms of attack drones. The passenger liners extended weapon pods that fired missiles capable of tracking targets across entire star systems. The supply depot was reduced to scrap metal before the defenders could even sound an alarm. Dr. Alex Turner worked with military scientists to develop new weapons based on Zephyrian biology. Humans had been studying their enemies for years and learning exactly how their bodies and technology worked. Every piece of research was now turned into a tool for destroying them. The humans created sonic weapons that could disrupt Zephyrian nervous systems. They developed computer viruses that could take control of alien ships. They built energy fields that could make Zephyrian equipment stop working. Everything the aliens thought they knew about warfare became useless. General Patricia Adams unleashed the Ghost Division for the first time in combat. These were human soldiers who used technology so advanced it seemed like magic to other species. They could become invisible to all sensors. They could walk through solid walls. They could appear and disappear like spirits of death. The Ghost Division struck at Zephyrian command centers across the galaxy. Alien generals went to sleep in heavily guarded bunkers and never woke up. Military computers were destroyed by enemies, who could not be seen or stopped. Entire bases went dark without anyone understanding how it happened. Within 72 hours, the Zephyrian Empire lost half of its fleet and a third of its territory. Their military commanders, who had grown lazy from years of bullying weaker species, had no idea how to fight an enemy that was actually dangerous. The galaxy watched in shock as humans revealed their true nature. They were not the weak primitives everyone had believed them to be. They were apex predators who had been pretending to be sheep. The Galactic Council met in emergency session as reports flooded in from across known space. The massive chamber on the neutral world of Harmony Station was filled with representatives from dozens of alien species. All of them were watching the tactical displays in complete shock and disbelief. Ambassador Tarina of the Altarian Federation stared at the battle reports with her 4 eyes wide open. Her species had ruled a quarter of the galaxy for thousands of years. They thought they understood military power and how wars were fought. What they were seeing made no sense to them. "How is this possible?" Tarina whispered to herself. "Our intelligence services classified humans as level 3 technological development at best. They should barely be able to build ships that can travel faster than light." Council leader Mordak of the Bruthan hegemony slammed his massive fist on the table. His species was known for being warriors and conquerors. They respected strength and despised weakness. Right now, Mordak was feeling something he had never experienced before in his long life. He was feeling afraid. "They have been lying to us for decades," Mordak growled through his sharp teeth. "The humans have been pretending to be weaker than they really are. They made us think they were harmless prey when they are actually apex predators." The tactical displays showed Zephyrian fleets being destroyed faster than the computers could update the information. Entire star systems that had been under alien control for centuries were falling to human forces in a matter of hours. The conquest, that should have taken years, was happening in days. Captain Jake Morrison led his expanded task force toward the Zephyrian stronghold of Nexus Prime. This was not just another military base. Nexus Prime was a massive space fortress that had been built over 3 centuries to withstand attacks from entire alien armadas. The Zephyrians believed it was absolutely impossible to destroy. The fortress was the size of a small moon, and covered with weapon platforms that could fire in every direction. Its shields were powered by 3 fusion reactors that could generate enough energy to supply an entire planet. Thousands of Zephyrian soldiers lived inside its armored walls along with their families and their most important leaders. Jake's ships approached the fortress slowly and carefully. The enemy weapons locked onto them immediately and began charging for attack. Warning messages in the Zephyrian language told the humans to surrender or be destroyed by the most powerful military installation in their empire. Captain Dan Miller commanded the destroyer Swift Justice on Jake's left flank. Captain Susan Walsh led the heavy cruiser Righteous Fury on his right. Both ships looked like ordinary human warships to anyone watching from the outside. The Zephyrians had no idea what they were really facing. "All ships prepare dimensional torpedoes," Jake ordered over the communication system. "Target the fortress reactor cores and shield generators. We end this in one strike." The human ships fired weapons that should not have existed according to everything the galaxy knew about physics and technology. The dimensional torpedoes did not travel through normal space. They moved through layers of reality that most species could not even detect or understand. The Zephyrians watched their sensors as the human missiles simply vanished from normal space. Their defensive systems tried to track and intercept weapons that were no longer in the same dimension. The torpedoes reappeared inside the fortress shields and struck the reactor cores directly. Nexus Prime had withstood attacks from the greatest military powers in the galaxy. It had survived sieges that lasted for years, and bombardments that could be seen from neighboring star systems. Now, it was completely destroyed in less than 1 hour by 3 human ships. The explosion was visible from dozens of light years away. 3 centuries of Zephyrian military engineering became an expanding cloud of radioactive gas. The fortress that was supposed to protect their empire became a monument to human power. General Patricia Adams coordinated ground assaults on Zephyrian colony worlds throughout their territory. Human soldiers equipped with powered armor moved through enemy positions like living gods of war. Their equipment made them faster and stronger than any normal being could ever hope to be. The armor could stop weapons that would destroy buildings. The soldiers inside could lift vehicles with their bare hands and run faster than racing cars. Their helmet displays showed them everything happening around them, even through solid walls. They were no longer just humans. They were something much more dangerous. Lieutenant Colonel Pete Jackson led the assault on the Zephyrian capital world's orbital defense platforms. His Marines did not just defeat the enemy forces. They completely terrorized them. Zephyrian warriors who had conquered dozens of worlds fled in panic from humans they could barely see and could not hope to harm. The human soldiers moved like ghosts through the alien facilities. Their weapons turned entire squads of enemies into mist. Their armor made them practically invincible to anything the Zephyrians could throw at them. Some defenders simply threw down their weapons and ran rather than face these unstoppable killers. Dr. Alex Turner's Psychological Warfare Division broadcast recordings of the battles across all Zephyrian worlds. The message was simple and clear. Resist the humans and be completely destroyed. Surrender now and live to see another day. Many alien commanders chose to surrender rather than watch their forces be annihilated. The broadcasts showed Zephyrian fleets being wiped out in minutes. They showed the mighty Nexus Prime Fortress being reduced to cosmic dust. They showed human soldiers walking through alien defenses like they were not even there. The psychological impact was devastating to enemy morale. Admiral Lisa Carter received a priority transmission from the surviving Zephyrian leadership. General Krethax appeared on her screen, looking like a broken and defeated creature. His blue skin had turned pale with fear and his hands were shaking as he spoke. "We did not know," General Krethax said in a voice that trembled with terror. "We thought you were weak animals that we could hunt and kill for sport. We did not understand what you truly were underneath your peaceful appearance." Admiral Carter looked at the alien general with cold eyes that showed no mercy or forgiveness. Her voice was as hard as steel when she replied to his desperate plea for understanding. "You had 2 years to learn who we really were," Carter said. "We sent ambassadors to talk peace with you. We offered trade and friendship and cooperation. You chose to ignore our warnings and murder our civilians instead. Now you face the consequences of your choices." The Zephyrian Empire that had terrorized the galaxy for thousands of years collapsed completely in less than 1 month. Their military was destroyed. Their colonies were occupied. Their leaders were dead or captured. The species that had seen themselves as the ultimate predators learned what it meant to be prey. 6 months after the declaration of war, President William Hayes stood before the rebuilt Europa Station. The new facility was larger and more advanced than the original that the Zephyrians had destroyed. A memorial wall displayed the names of every human killed in alien attacks, but it also marked the beginning of a completely new era for the galaxy. The universe had changed in ways that no one could have predicted. Species that had spent centuries preying on weaker civilizations now looked over their shoulders nervously whenever they left their home systems. The balance of power had shifted dramatically, and everyone knew there was no going back to the old ways. Ambassador Claire Thompson represented humanity at the reformed Galactic Council meetings. The days when humans sat quietly in the back row and accepted whatever scraps other species decided to give them were over forever. Now when Ambassador Thompson spoke, the entire galaxy stopped what they were doing and listened very carefully to every word. The council chamber had been redesigned to reflect the new reality. The human delegation now sat at the front of the room where everyone could see them. Other species that had once dismissed humans as primitive newcomers now treated them with the respect that came from knowing what happened to those who made humans angry. "The human position on galactic affairs is very simple," Ambassador Thompson explained to the assembled delegates from across known space. "We want peace and cooperation between all species. We have always wanted peace. But we will no longer tolerate being victimized by those who mistake our desire for peace as a sign of weakness. The alien representatives nodded their heads in agreement. None of them wanted to end up like the Zephyrians. The blue aliens had learned too late that humans were not the helpless prey they appeared to be. Their empire was gone, and their surviving population lived under human supervision on a single world. Captain Jake Morrison had been promoted to admiral and now commanded the new human defense fleet. These ships patrolled the major space lanes and trade routes throughout the galaxy. They were not there as conquerors or occupiers. They were there as guardians who made sure that piracy and raiding became extremely dangerous occupations. The criminals and raiders who had operated with complete freedom for centuries suddenly found that their activities came with deadly consequences. Human patrol ships would appear without warning and offer the pirates one chance to surrender peacefully. Those who chose to fight discovered that resistance meant immediate destruction. Admiral Morrison's flagship was still called the Guardian, but it was much larger and more powerful than his old ship. The new vessel carried enough firepower to sterilize entire planets, but Jake hoped he would never need to use those weapons. The mere knowledge that humans possessed such capabilities was usually enough to keep potential troublemakers in line. Dr. Alex Turner established the Institute for Interspecies Understanding on the rebuilt Europa station. The facility was dedicated to helping alien species learn how to coexist peacefully with humans and each other. Dr. Turner wanted to prevent future conflicts by teaching other civilizations that humans preferred friendship but were fully capable of being enemies. The Institute became a place where alien diplomats and military leaders could study human culture and psychology. They learned that humans were naturally cooperative and peaceful, but became extremely dangerous when threatened or provoked. The lesson was simple but important. Work with humans and prosper. Work against them and face the consequences. The surviving Zephyrians had been relocated to a single world called New Zephyr, under human oversight. They were not treated as slaves or prisoners, but they would never again be allowed to threaten peaceful species. Human administrators worked with reformed Zephyrian leaders to build a new society based on cooperation instead of conquest. Many of the younger Zephyrians adapted quickly to a life without violence and aggression. They discovered that they could be successful through trade and science instead of raiding and murder. The older generation struggled more with the changes, but they understood that their old ways had led to the complete destruction of everything they had built. Commander Rachel Brooks had been promoted to captain and now worked with former enemy species to establish new trade agreements and diplomatic relationships. Many aliens who had initially feared humanity's military might were surprised to discover that humans made excellent business partners and allies. Captain Brooks specialized in working with species that had been victims of Zephyrian aggression. These civilizations had suffered under alien rule for generations and were amazed to find themselves free for the first time in centuries. They eagerly signed mutual defense treaties with humanity to make sure they would never be enslaved again. General Patricia Adams reduced human military forces back to purely defensive levels, but the galaxy now understood the truth about human capabilities. Humanity possessed technology and weapons that made them one of the most powerful species in known space. They simply chose not to use that power unless absolutely necessary. The Ghost Division returned to their secret bases and resumed their training exercises. Other species whispered stories about human soldiers who could walk through walls and disappear like shadows. These stories served as warnings to anyone who might consider attacking human civilians or colonies. Trade and commerce flourished under the new galactic order. Species that had spent their resources on weapons and conquest could now invest in peaceful development. Scientific research accelerated as different civilizations shared knowledge instead of trying to destroy each other. At his final press conference as President William Hayes reflected on the transformation that had taken place. His hair had turned gray during the months of war, but his eyes still held the determination that had led humanity to victory. "We never wanted to be conquerors or rulers of other species," President Hayes said to the assembled reporters. "We wanted to be explorers and scientists and friends to all peaceful civilizations. But when we were faced with a choice between extinction and survival, we chose to survive." He paused and looked directly into the cameras that would broadcast his words to thousands of worlds across the galaxy. Alien leaders would study every word he spoke and try to understand the species that had changed everything. We hope never to wage total war again, President Hayes continued. But let there be no mistake about our capabilities. We remain ready to defend ourselves and our allies against any threat. To our friends we offer cooperation and mutual prosperity. To those who would harm innocent beings, whether human or alien, we offer this final warning. We are done playing nice. Choose your actions wisely. The age of human victimhood was over. The age of human leadership had begun. Across the galaxy, species both friendly and hostile took careful note. Humanity had finally stopped pretending to be harmless, and the results spoke for themselves.